So, for those that don't know, there has been traditionally one really big distributor in the comic book industry, um, Diamond Distribution. Diamond Distribution is just massive, right? And they owned Alliance Game Distributors. Um, they own a lot of different stuff, and they were for most comic book shops the primary distributor. Well, Diamond has declared bankruptcy, right? Now, here's the interesting thing about this particular situation. Diamond is not a wholesaler per se, right? They are a sales agent, right? That matches the comic book publishers to the stores, right? So, oh, that got all goofy. So what ends up happening is that Diamond takes possession of these things like comic books, right? And then they take them on consignment, something called consignment, which means you are comic publisher A. I don't pay you up front for the comics that you give me. I take them, I put them in my warehouse, and as I sell them, I give you your cut, right? So now Diamond's declared bankruptcy, right? What does this mean? It means a lot. It means that most of the comic publishers and the comic book stores do not have a way of getting their comic books into the stores. Okay? Now, there's another problem, right? And this is a problem with consignment, right? Um, and that's this. Diamond has possession of all this material. And thus far, they are holding the inventory hostage. Okay? And so what's happening now is that the court, thus far, has said, you don't have to pay these guys as you sell this stuff to clear your debt. So basically, anybody who sent Diamond stuff on consignment, Diamond has possession of that, and they are allowed to sell that to clear their debt, but are not required to give the publishers any money. Okay? There's a great interview on ICV2 with the head of Fantagraphics, which is in Seattle. Right now, I believe they say they have Diamond's got a retail inventory estimated in the low 7 figures. Right? So somewhere in the millions of dollars. However, again, the court is saying, nope, you can hold that. Now, somebody has challenged that. Tomorrow's Publishing has filed a legal objection to say, hey, you can't liquidate consignment without paying us, right? Because the court has said, yes, we can't, yes, they can. And this guy's saying, no, you can't. Whew. Because it's technically their property, because it's on a consignment deal. This is a massive, massive mess. And if you think it's just comic books, right, it's not. Let's talk about Paizo. Paizo has said that due to this distribution snafu, during August and September, the following Paizo releases will not be available at bookstores or Amazon. Starfinder Core, Starfinder Retail, Starfinder Special Edition, Pathfinder Battlecry, Pathfinder. Like, I'm showing you in the browser. Just a huge list of stuff. They've got a bunch of stuff that D&D owns, that Wizards of the Coast owns, right? Because again, they do all this on consignment. And again, for everybody but Marvel and DC, because during COVID, so Marvel and DC used to be distributed through Diamond. During COVID, Marvel and DC pulled out and they're like, we'll just do it ourselves, right? So Marvel and DC aren't part of this, but everybody else is. Literally basically every other comic publisher. So this is a giant, giant mess. Jay, I'm gonna flip it over to you. What are your thoughts on this whole? And you're a big like weekly comic book guy, stuff like that. We both have a couple of favorite local comic shops that I'm sure are going to be affected by this. What are your first thoughts about this whole situation?
So, one, I'm a little concerned because, and I don't think you know this, Alex, but I have been very recently, within the past week, I started reaching out to a lot of local comic book shops to do research into the comic business, hoping that they would share like their business model, the finances, to do research for a MBA project that I'm working on. So I really wanted to dig deep into the business of comic books. Um, and now I'm just like,
Great research project now.
yeah,
I think it's an even better research project now.
Yes, but I think I'm gonna get a lot of like, hey, this is really fucked right now, and we're trying to figure this out. Sorry. It could be really good. Could be a really good research project, but or I could get a lot of like, yeah, we don't know if we're gonna stay open or not. Um this I did not know about Diamond.
They're essentially a
Wow.
monopoly.
Yeah. And that's what kind of worries me, that we're going to see a lot of like little struggling comic book shops just close, and then I'm worried about the little um comic book publishers are
Those are the
going to.
ones that, yeah, they're screwed.
Yeah. So yeah, my initial thoughts is like, yeah, this is really this is really bad. Am I like worried about like Marvel, DC? Like, not really. I think that's fine. But some of the smaller ones that I follow, like, I'm kind of like, are these are they going to still be around like in 3 or 4 months from now? So
Well, and again, I'll go back to Fantagraphics. Um, they said 7-figure thing. They say that right now, like they owe Fantagraphics $35,000. And anybody that knows anything about small business, 35 grand is a massive amount of money for just this. Fanta says as of May 16th, they'd stopped returning their calls. Right. Um, this whole thing is a giant, giant mess.
something that I will say, I like to draw. I used to be way more into it when I was younger, started recently getting back into it. I looked at last year, I looked at becoming a comic book artist. Like, what would it take? Is there like a degree program? Yes, there is. And this is something that really, really shocked me. One, to get your I think it was a bachelor's in fine arts with a focus in comic book art, I would spend more money getting that degree than I spent on my engineering degree.
And your engineering degree is going to pay you a whole lot more. By the way, side note, I can actually introduce you to a former Marvel and DC artist if you'd like to
Oh,
meet them and ask.
oh, nice. But yeah, looking at their salary, like, I would get paid less, and then also there's no guarantee that you're even going to get a job.
Nope.
And I was like, wow, like, this is really not a good like good kind of investment thing to try to go for. But yeah, I think the whole people struggle, and Alex, we've talked to a few people at Comic Con. There's some people that are able to pull it off, that go to like kind of travel with the cons, right? They do a lot of they sell a lot of their art, they do commissions. But then you have others that aren't really that diverse,
Mhm.
and they struggle. And this is, I feel like we're gonna see small little comic book companies close.
And again, not just comic book companies. I'm going to bring this back up. Green Ronin Publishing, which publishes a lot of various comic book stuff, says that Diamond has 8,500 books in their inventory with a retail value of over $300,000. And if Diamond is permitted to quote, let me get the quote here, um, sell its consigned inventory, quote, free and clear of liens, claims, interest, or encumbrances, right? Meaning they don't have to give anybody any money to sell this stuff, right? Um, yeah, it's huge. Um, in March, Publishers Weekly reported that Diamond owed $9.2 million to Penguin Random House, $1.7 million to Consumer Products, $500,000 to Lunar, as well as additional funds to publishers like D&D's Wizards of the Coast. Just wow.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, because I don't think there's a whole lot that some of these companies can do. I mean, like,
They could sue, but
they can sue,
that's just it. Is that
but
it'll be a legal fight. Like, and how much money they got to spend on lawyers to get this done. Um,
yeah,
Couple of things I think you're going to see out of this is one, I think you're going to start seeing random RPGs show up at fucking discount stores. You're going to head over to the Dollar General and they're going to have copies of Pathfinder for $10, right? And that's where a lot of this shit goes. The other thing that I think is that we need to take into account here, and coming from, I published a role playing game, owned a game store. All the companies up and down the chain in this physical media market, whether it's comic book stores, gaming stores, etc., the distributors, the margins are so tight, and there is zero room for error, right? So you get yourself into a bad situation, debt what, and you're done. You're toast, right? It just it crushes you, right? Somebody in the chat's talking about Paizo. Paizo CEO Jim Butler says, quote, please support your favorite game and comic publishers by buying directly from them or going to your favorite LGS and asking them to order for upcoming releases, right? For gaming, for tabletop gaming, the upside is there's other distributors. There's Magnex, there's GTS, there's Southern Hobby, there's Peachtree. So in the tabletop space, while this is going to screw a lot of tabletop companies, believe me, because Diamond's screwing them, there at least are other distributors out there who carry this stuff and can get money to your favorite tabletop. Really, this is going to hurt the comic book guys. This is just, all the small publishers are screwed. And again, they don't have the money for a shit ton of lawyers. And by the way, if you know anything about bankruptcy proceedings, they got to get in line, right? Chase Bank has a $45 million line of credit out to Diamond. Who you think is going to get paid first?
yep,
Because you know what Chase has? Lawyers. And they'll pay their lawyers $3 million to recover $30 million of the 45 that they're owed. And then they'll write the rest off as a tax deduction.
yep.
So pour one out for the comic book guys. We love them. Boy, oh boy. Jay, any other final thoughts on this story before we move on to our next, actually kind of nicer story?
Sucks.
Yeah.
It just sucks. Like, yeah.
Stay tuned as we watch this develop. This is probably a story that will update a bunch as it moves to the courts and things like that. So I'm gonna keep my eyes open on this one. So yeah, stay tuned to this channel for more updates on this.